Welcome, my friends, to the Quantum Shamans presented by Moshi, the Ministry of Shamanic Healing and Integration, bringing you insights into the spiritual secrets of the mind and the universe around you. We are here to help you on your spiritual journey and path of healing. And now your hosts, David and Anthony.
Welcome to Quantum Shamans. I'm Antonio Corianti, a.k.a. Anthony Golden Sunshine.
And I'm David Kovac, a.k.a. Blue Moonlight.
Awesome. So today what we're going to talk about, just recently we underwent something called the Hatun Karpay, which in our tradition means the Great Initiation. So these are initiations into the fourth level of priesthood of the Paqo Kuna tradition. So they're very, very interesting. But before we get started, what we're going to do is, David, if you could please not read but recite the Moshi Vision Statement.
The Ministry of Shamanic Healing aims to help individuals heal from spiritual maladies stored as energy in their subconscious that manifests in the form of trauma, PTSD, physical illness, mental health issues, and addiction. These practices include, but are not limited to, yoga, breathwork, meditation and mindfulness practices, Reiki, sweat lodge ceremonies, sensory deprivation, sacred plants, and any other rituals we collectively decided to establish. We hold ritual ceremonies for our community to heal collectively in a safe space, as well as individual ritual healing tailored to the members of our collective for the purpose of intensive inner work. Our most important responsibility is to help our members integrate their individual and collective experiences in order to ameliorate their spiritual maladies and spread love for the betterment of mankind. Our belief is that our collective consciousness is God. Every living organism has a purpose and is essential for homeostasis. From the single-cell organisms to the observable universe, we are all connected and equally important. We all deserve love, respect, peace, harmony, and forgiveness. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love conquers all.
Thank you, David.
I think that was the smoothest one yet.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't even think you said
No.
We'll have to replay and find out, but I don't think you did. Yay!
Yeah.
Look at that. Now that's a upper level of priesthood, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like we were talking about, we went together as a big group, and I was very fortunate. I'm also a mentor of this tradition, and I was fortunate enough to have all of my proteges, my students, with me here on the trip. So there was myself, there was my wife Mary, there was David, there was Mark Myers, and a very wonderful woman named Faith Goins. That was all part of our little camp there. But there was 20 people all together, all different kind of walks of life and things. But all of these people are people on this path of healing, on this path of awareness and enlightenment of self. And it's directly connected. So for those of you that don't maybe know what the Paqo Kuna tradition is, it's an ancient form of what we would say in this culture, energy medicine. That
shamanism, nature mysticism, many different names.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly. I couldn't give you like a single translation of what it means. So even at that level, like shamanism, technically, the only shamans that exist, if you talk to a shamanist, they'll tell you the only shamans that exist are the shamans of
Siberia,
the Tungus tribe, right? And so it was through the study of them, and I think Zane talked about that a little bit on our podcast with him, like kind of how the term comes around. But Paqo, what it really means is nature mystic. That's really what that means. So this tradition predates the Inca Empire. It's a very old form of medicine. And like as it's described, nature mystics, we generally connect with all forms of nature. So we see everything just like how it is here at Moshi. We see everything as one living organism in that tradition as well. All is one living energy. Everything is alive. Is basically that's how it was explained to me. What else? What else would I say about it?
It's a beautiful living tradition that one of the most beautiful things about it is it doesn't fit you into a box like religions do. It doesn't give you a box to think in. It gives you structure for everything that's already happening and elevates it to a point where everything's organized and really is brought to another level. And then once you kind of find your own path and you start getting into the tradition, you are able to sort of make it your own. That's what's so beautiful about it, is we are directly connected to Source, so that's where all of our information and healing comes from, is directly from Source.
Right. And we are Source, and we are nature. And in our tradition, we spend time connecting with creative energies of nature. So like, per se, the earth, we connect with the earth, and we call her Pachamama. And then we connect with the moon, we call her Mama Kia. We connect with the wind, that's a father, that's Waira. We connect with the sun, that's Inti. We connect with the rainbow, which is Koichi. And then we also connect with, in our tradition, what can only be described as like what one may call God, but it's more or less what we understand as the animating essence and frequency of life. That'd be kind of a more general terminology, I would think. And this is Wiracocha, so that would be the primary spirits we talk to or connect with, and many, many others in between. And by connecting with the spiritual energy of nature, we begin to draw in new frequencies into our bubble. And everyone has one of these bubbles. In American words, they call this aura. You hear people walking around talking about aura. Well, this is the same general idea, but for us, it's more of a luminous energy field, or we call it bubble sometimes, is another way to put it.
Pokpo.
Pokpo is the word we use in our tradition. And the Pokpo essentially holds all of the information that you carry within this idea of a body. It kind of, from my visual and energetic awareness of it, the way I can see it is it's like a projector. It's what we really are. You're not really this body. You're actually that Pokpo. You're that energy field. And the thing is this is, I guess in a good way to put this is this is a very ancient form of light technology. We connect with forms of light, frequency, and information on all different wavelengths. That's really what that all means, and bring it into the being. And by having that creates medicine, things that first help to heal you. So by bringing these things in, it helps to heal me. It helps to rectify some of the blockages and resistances in my being and my body. You know, all those things are driven by fear and parts of our imprint, parts of our program. And that's really helped me to sort through and organize the energy. Because that's for the primary goal as a Paqo, is to become a perfect absorber and radiator of light or information or energy, however one wants to look at it. But that's a little bit about, there's a lot to explain about the tradition, and I can always tell you more if you'd want to find out. But what we did is we went on these initiations. So we all get together and then we meet at this place called the Land Celebration, which is a retreat center in Gore, Virginia. Very beautiful place. It's about 40 acres. Lots of people have been doing work there. I think it's been around for almost 30 years, around 30 years. I think it's been there.
It's a beautiful space with incredible energy. Many different spiritual groups and spiritual beings have connected to that land and left their signature. So we were fortunate to go there and pick up all their medicine as well. Continue connecting lines and growing the mycelium.
There it is. You got the mycelium out. Yes, it's definitely a sacred space. And like how Dave explained about mycelium, we kind of have an understanding in a way of how energy connects to everything. And in our tradition, they're called sea-key lines. And the sea-key lines are grid lines of energy that connect large pieces of energy onto Earth, and then below that connect all the other fine energies of the Earth. So as we work through those, so say me and Dave, we've been working together shamanically for a period of time. The more that we're around each other and connect with each other, these lines of information between us continue to grow. And that's because also we have intention for that to happen. So your intention like drives everything. But connecting to these lines of energy is very essential for us to reach general homeostasis in our being, because we become connected with everything around us instead of separated in the ego mind. Where were we before? We were at Gore, Virginia. Gore, Virginia. Sacred place, a beautiful place for Paqos to go, because that's exactly what we like to do, is connect into grid lines of energy. Like David was saying, there's tons of people that have gone there, different spiritual groups, and actually there was one leaving when we were coming, and they were just electrified with light. I could see them electrified with light, and the guy came by and he gave us some really beautiful well wishes and blessings on our journey, because I think he could tell what we were in for. He could feel what we were in for. Yeah. And boy, we were in for it. We were in for it.
Yes, quite the blur.
It is still a blur. We're not fully integrated, but we'll talk about that. Actually, so I'll just start. It started off, we had it was really cool. Two of my students that were from out of the area. One of Mark, he's from Wisconsin. Shout out to 1 million Buddhas. And then
love you, brother.
Yeah. And then lovely Faith. She's magic. She came from Colorado. And they came in a day early, and they spent the night at our house with me and Mary. And then we loaded up the truck, and we headed out. A nice 5.5-hour drive through the countryside. You know, there was some freeway, but lots of country driving down through the roads. And where we ended up is in Gore, Virginia. And I love it, because as soon as I pull into that place, whoosh, I can hit with the energy. I can feel it as I'm getting closer to that space of land. I can feel it growing. And as soon as we pulled in, whoosh,
magnetizing.
Yeah, wildly whoosh. And then it was great. It was perfect, because we pulled in, and pretty much within 5 minutes of pulling in, I found out that whatever my plans were going to be were foiled. And boy, was I frustrated. So that was just how it started, and I could hear my ego mind giving me all kinds of shit. Yeah, okay. And what I did is I just didn't do anything. I just said what I said, and then just kind of went with it. And I knew it would just take care of itself if I just let go. So that was really cool how that started. I started with Hucha. So it was a beautiful learning experience for me to just kind of let it flow, kind of let it go through.
Hucha is heavy energy that we carry for anyone who is not familiar.
Heavy energy, or another translation would be condensed light. Yeah. It's a heavy form of light that we can't move. So I had a bunch of heavy light I couldn't move, because I wanted to stay in a little bungalow on the property with Mary. But they were spoken for already. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I was really frustrated. And I was like, I don't want to sleep in the bunk. I want to snuggle with Mary. Which ended up happening anyway. It all worked itself out. But what happened was it didn't take me too long. We went shopping, and I think while I was shopping, I pretty much accepted everything as it is. And because that's the only time really what was happening is I was disagreeing with reality. I'm aware of that, right? Like, that's what I teach everyone is listen, you're only going to suffer or feel heavy. Usually it's because you're disagreeing with reality. You're saying it should be some other way than it is, and not accepting that it's just right however it shows up. And once I did that, I was free. And then that was the beginning of my journey. So I kind of had this really cool minor emotional healing that it was perfect, because it created some sort of pre-adjustment for me before I got in, before we got smudged in and brought into the room. So that's how the story started. And then Dave, because he's a super duper backpacker, outdoorsy kind of guy, he's like, I'm going to get a tent. So we went to Walmart. And what'd you do?
Got a tent. I got an actual air mattress. That was wonderful. I'm used to sleeping on a super ultralight, thin sleeping pad. So this was like luxury for me. So I didn't have to carry everything.
And then you're in the Moon Eye Garden.
Yes, I stayed in the Moon Eye Garden.
I don't think that was intentional. It just drew you there.
Yes.
Because I was helping Dave set up his little camp, and I just followed him where he was going. It took him right to this little grassy area, and he started setting up his tent, and I looked over, and it was the Moon Eye Garden. And Moon Eye in our tradition essentially means love, is what it is. It's a generalized translation would be love. So it's like the Garden of Love. And so I found that to be perfect.
It was amazing, and it rained almost every night, so I got to sleep in the rain, and it was beautiful.
I was inside. I slept by the mesa one night, and that was pretty cool. I like that. So Dave sets up camp, and then what we do is we proceed to all kind of gather in this little courtyard that's outside of like the ritual room, I guess you'd call it. And inside there, our teacher sets up what in our tradition is called a mesa. What's a mesa, Dave?
A large altar with many different sacred objects.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's a really nice, easy way to put it. Yeah, because I didn't have one. That's why I was like, Dave, what is it? I had all this explanation to go. You're like, yep, it's a large altar.
A lot of history, a lot of energetic connections, and we just grow it as we're there. It just becomes more and more powerful. It's just we create this massive energy vortex right in the middle of the room that lasts the entire week and just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
That's what it did. I can't forget. It keeps replaying in my mind the feeling of walking into the room and then circling the mesa. We got to walk around the mesa 3 times. And then we had the privilege of the mentors being able to call in the directions. This means spirit, calling in spirit into the space. That was super amazing. And then having everybody, ushering everyone else in to fill in the space. And then, we began into some pretty intense spiritual connection. We begin, and it's just so amazing because you're in this room with this mesa on this sacred land with a whole bunch of priests. And it's like, wow, this is unlike anything else I feel.
Getting goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah. This is my second Hatun Karpay, and I can't compare them. They're way different. This one, much more powerful. This one felt way more powerful. Not that the first one wasn't. The first one was way powerful. And it took me probably close to a year to integrate that experience. So I'm curious to see how this one goes. But a very powerful experience started to ensue. We did all kinds of things. I can't tell you about all of them. Some of these things are very sacred rites and traditions that we don't really talk about out loud. But some of the things were really cool. Some of the things that I thought were really neat were how one of our exercises was to carry each other's burdens. Right?
Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
All week.
It was an exercise with stones that we use where basically we charge the stones with what our burdens are. And we end up putting them on the mesa, and we make something called an apacheta. And the apacheta is like a large mound of rocks, and its translation means, "Surely, Lord, you have carried me." That is what an apacheta is. So it's us putting all of our energy together, and then the next morning, and we did this every morning, we'd pick up 4 new stones, and we'd carry them with us off into our journey. Because besides the place we were at, we went a whole bunch of places. We go driving around. That was super cool to me, because we get to like hop in the truck, and we are like a caravan or whatever, and we take off into the wilderness.
Yeah, we were in Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland throughout the week, and it was just in all of these incredible sacred places. Very, very special.
Extremely, I would say. What was the first place we went to? We go to Swallow Falls?
Yeah,
Does that
Swallow
sound
Falls
right?
in Maryland.
Swallow Falls in Maryland. What a cool place. That was a really, really, really amazing place. where we got to connect with nature. And I would say one of the most powerful things that has really stuck with me since then is our traditional concept of Yanantan. That means complementary opposites. So there's many types of Yanantan. Like a dog and a cat will be Yanantan. They're opposites in some way. Like so, a man and a woman, they're just naturally they're Yanantan. A husband and wife, they're Yanantan. And what can happen is Yanantan. So say Mary and I were Yanantan. And so if we learn to organize our energy properly, we can become empowered as one being. And that spreads out into the world. It's a very powerful awareness that has come in through that. So we got to actually be with these two rivers that were flowing that met together to create one river. So that's like kind of the symbolism of the Yanantan, the turning two into one. And then beyond that, there's some more stuff too. But that really stuck out to me, and it has still stuck out to me from that trip, from that part of the trip.
Powerful.
Yeah, no doubt. And then we did some empowerments and things up on this waterfall that were really far out. And you guys check out the pictures. We got some pictures. Did you post any pictures? Do you have any?
I didn't really take many throughout.
Yeah, I didn't take too many. I scalped a lot of other people.
Yeah. I got a few, but I was there to take it all in. I wasn't there.
That's what I was there for.
Take pictures.
But some people got some pictures, and what I did is I posted some of those and the few that I took on there. Like there was some I thought I took, well, I probably did, but there was some I thought I took pictures of and they weren't there. So, okay.
Isn't another reality?
Yeah, that's a whole nother show, by the way. We'll get on that some other time on quantum drifting and quantum expansion because it's pretty fun. Excuse me. Swallow Falls. So, yeah, that was a really nice place. And where are we going after that?
Next day we went to Seneca Rocks.
Seneca Rocks, yeah. What do we do there?
We connected with...
What'd you do first?
We left for Kintus along the way for Pachamama.
Uh-huh.
It was a silent hike up the mountain.
That's where I was going with the hike. We hiked a mountain in silence.
Yep.
I never did that before.
Taking it all in and connecting to Pachamama and everything around us. And it was also a very powerful experience.
Yeah. The Kintu were a really powerful experience. Kintu, we use 3 leaves and we put prayers into them. Each leaf generally represents the 3 worlds, the middle, upper, and lower world. There's other types of Kintu as well, but these were the kind of Kintu we were using. And we leave them as prayer along our route. So we had some instructions to go with. But we all climbed the mountain. I mean all of us, everybody. We had some people with us that are elderly, that are older people.
Did great.
I don't know exactly their age, but I would guess into the later 70s probably, I would think. They made it up the mountain, right?
Yeah, no problem.
I was like, wow, that was amazing. That's a lot of love up there. Do you remember the story of Snowbird?
Yes. So Seneca Rocks is surrounded by a legend of Snowbird, and she was a Native American princess, essentially, and she had many different suitors, and she was having trouble choosing which one, so she used to climb to the top of this Seneca Rocks, which was much, much higher back then when she was in this reality, and she would pray and meditate and get her answers from Viracocha, Pachamama, all of the energy surrounding her. And the story goes that she had it narrowed down to 2 suitors, and she decided that that she was going to climb to the top of Seneca Rocks, and whoever was able to get to the top and meet her there was the one that was going to have her hand in marriage. And I think 3 or 4 suitors started. A couple turned back about halfway through, and then towards the end there were only 2. And shortly before the top, one other turned around, and then the last one, who she really wanted to be her suitor, was towards the top and started struggling and thought he was going to fall. So she actually climbed down to meet him and help him to the top. Which is a beautiful story.
Beautiful. Another Yunantan story.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That place was magical. You know what was really awesome? I'm going to go back to Swallow Falls. As soon as I walked into that forest, I couldn't help it. I started crying and had to put my hands on a tree.
Oh, the virgin forest.
Yeah,
yes.
virgin hemlock forest. Yeah. So if you ever have the chance to go to Swallow Falls, do it. Go there. And also Seneca Rocks. Really, really cool, beautiful place. These are just beautiful, beautiful places. And David, there's a big sign that says, climb at your own risk. You don't want to go up here. And then he's way up there. He's sitting on this little perch, like on the summit, probably where Snowbird was. And he's sitting there, and he's breathing his face off. And he comes down from there like, hey, man. He's like, yeah, I found a perch. I was like, I know. And I was like, you should see what color your skin is. He was like just bright white, like he was flushed. All his blood left his body. It was something. The energy vibration was intense. It was intense up there on that mountain. But it's like burned into me. It's like, but also it's like hazy. Everything's kind of hazy, but yeah, it's still kind of burned in there. Yeah. What do we do after that?
At Seneca Rocks. So Seneca Rocks is the feminine energy, the feminine mountain in the area. And then Spruce Knob is the masculine, and they're a Yunantan pair. And we intentionally connected the two through our energies, as well as connecting Siki lines with indigenous sacred sites in Peru, which Spruce Knob and Seneca Rocks correspond with along the Siki lines. So we called in a bunch of energies and connected to the mountain and connected to the other mountain and connected the two.
And that connection is the mycelium that you'll hear us talk about all the time. That's what we mean. Connecting lines of energy. So those lines are already connected technically. What we're doing is we're bringing in a stronger connection because we are the children of the earth. And through our intention, especially in a group like that, we can create much stronger lines, creating coherence and information exchange between these two things that we perceive as mountains, but really what they are is large living forms of energy. They're consciousness. They're very much alive.
Called in the energy of Pachamama, Mother Earth. We called in the energy of water, Wilka. We called in
Water's Wayu.
Wilka.
Oh, water's Unu. Mama Unu.
Unu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Wilka energy comes from the water.
It can, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Mama Unu, we called in Intiwaira, the wind, and we were Kocha and Mama Kia, and connected all those energies and connected both mountains.
Mm-hmm. And we do that through our Nawis.
Yes.
Nawi. What are Nawis?
Nawis are our eyes.
I like this, man. I get to quiz you, too. Get to test your awesome priesthood.
So in most traditions that people are familiar with, we have
Chakras.
Mm-hmm. So chakras are spinning discs made of light that are throughout your energetic column, top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And in our tradition, they're called Nawis, and instead of spinning discs, they're eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So our main eye for seeing and perceiving energy is our Kochko, which is our stomach, our belly buttons. Mm-hmm. That's where we, our intuition comes from, where we feel things out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that
so we call them eyes. So they're a little bit different. It's really the only similarity between chakras and nawis is that they're energy centers aligned with parts of your nervous system. Other than that, there's really no other similarity. So we have 12 total, but there's 5 primary that we use, and that's our tailbone, that's our navel, that's our heart, that's our throat, and then that would be in our tradition it's actually called our 7th eye, because these count as 2. So this would be 5 and 6, and this is 7. So technically there's, like I said, 12 eyes, because your hands, feet, and the top of your head are also a nawi as well, but just not generally used in like the work we were doing, because the work we were doing, that's also why everything happened the way it did. And so that way we were connecting through these nawis, which bring in a deeper form of energy. And this is a part of our Chumpy Paqo lineage, is what it is. Because that's the other thing. You got your Chumpy belts woven, like,
Yes.
right in time. What was that like? Talk about that a little bit.
That was powerful. I was standing at an overlook at the end of an airstrip, and Anthony was weaving my belts, and it just was more and more powerful as the ceremony went on, and I almost puked a couple times.
Yeah.
So much energy.
That's how you know there's a lot of light when you think you're in a puke. Call it Sami sick. And it happens. I've definitely gotten Sami sick. No doubt about it. But that's just, that's a lot to explain, but that's something that happens in our tradition too. And especially this line of our tradition, the Qatari tradition, is the weaving of the belts. So it's using these energetic eyes, tuning them in a way that you use them, and then calling in the energies of the earth that correspond to these eyes to empower them. And it empowers what I perceive as a belt. There's these spinning belts that are around us, and then that allows us to do all kinds of things, move different types of energy, but probably one of the most important things that opens up for the Paqo is the ability to easily huchamikwi.
Consuming heavy energy of others.
Yeah, eating energy.
Or Pachamama, or...
Well, anything, right.
Anything.
And so when we're together like that in a group, when groups of Paqos come together and use these eyes and use their Chompi belts, we're capable of very vast change into the reality, sending waves of Sami out into the surrounding space. And this is what I call the Sami tsunami. You're sending big waves of light, and they just send off in all directions, and what these are capable of doing is creating quantum shifts or change. This is how we work at the base level to create what we're looking to do, and that's systemic healing. We understand that system is not separate from us, so we're becoming part of that system and then feeding it light.
Yes, we are that system. The mycelium.
The mycelium. Then what do we do? So we went to Seneca Rocks. We went to Swallow Falls. We went to, where else we go?
Seneca Rocks.
Spruce Knob. That's where.
Spruce Knob. Yeah.
Spruce Knob.
After Seneca Rocks, we went to Spruce Knob, which is...
That's the male mountain Dave
yes,
was talking about.
the Yanantan pair. And then we had our, essentially our flowering ceremony. So the whole Hatun Karpay was essentially planting a seed, germinating that seed, and then flowering. And it was such a powerful, beautiful experience. And we were on top of this mountain, and it was 50 degrees and raining and high winds, and it was just such a amazing cleansing experience.
Yeah, it was so far out. Like I said, it was a lot different because my first Karpay, it was a beautiful sunny day, and we were there right at sunset. So we flowered as the sun set. Wow, picture perfect, beautiful thing. I have to say this one was a polar opposite and twice as powerful. That's how it felt for me. I felt I didn't want to leave there. And even though it was like uncomfortable, it was super wet and raining, and I mean the rain was nearly sideways. It was so windy, and it was cold up there, and it was just you're in the clouds, but it was still so beautiful. And I felt so alive, more alive than I've ever felt.
Yes, me too.
As I felt that flowering of my being.
Being watered.
Yeah, and then to be there with everyone else while they're flowering. It's like you have this whole crop of living energy just growing and expanding. And everybody else that I've been talking to, including Zane, is like, yep, it's been interesting. The integration time has been interesting. We did a bunch of other stuff, too. What else do we do? What else is notable? I mean, we can't possibly touch on everything because I can't remember it all currently. So.
Yeah, I mean, just the incredible conversations we have had in the evening. Everyone sharing their wisdom and knowledge, especially Zane. He's just such a wealth of knowledge of this tradition as well as quite a few others. So it was just so nice to connect with him and pick his brain and just grow. All grow together.
Zane certainly is a fantastic wisdom keeper and a great channel.
He is.
And that's another thing I love. I mean, because, this is cross-cultural shamanism. We're part of the Qatari. So he incorporates some of the other forms of shamanism and things into what we're doing, Not everything we do is strictly Paqo Kuna tradition. A lot of stuff is Curandero traditions and Huachumero traditions. There's many different other things streaming into Bolivia and other places where he's picked up medicine from other teachers and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, he's definitely got tons of knowledge, and you can just sit there and zone out and just totally go into a really neat frequency.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few times where I wasn't even really listening. I was just absorbing the vibrations of his words. Mm-hmm. And that was probably more powerful than listening.
Sometimes that's way better. Like you get more out of it that way. I feel the same. There'd be times where it would fade in and out. Like I'd be aware that he's talking, I'm listening exactly to his words, and other times where I'm listening, feeling the vibration, reading the energy field, and I come back to his talking. It's like it knew where to take me. Like listen here, look at this, go there. So you get just all the right information kind of coming in.
Yep. And one of the most beautiful parts of our entire weekend, one of our shamans and mentors, Ricky, brought some flowers that were on the altar. And there was this very large lily that was all closed up in the center. And as the week went, that blossom started to open up. And by the end of the week, it was a completely blossomed flower. It flowered as we did. Mm-hmm. And it just gives me chills.
Yeah, that was amazing, and it corresponded with some of the exercises we were doing with the mesa. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. It was. I can't give it any other word, except for amazing, and that's not enough. It's just not enough. We did lots of cool stuff. Well, I think one of my favorite things too was on the last night we had a dance party, an ecstatic dance party in a teepee.
Yes, that was awesome.
There's this big teepee on the property, and Mary, she looked in there and she had the awareness to, hey, we should all go in there and hang out and do like a little dance party or something. So we did, and there's rattles in there, all kinds of stuff, but we brought some of our own stuff. And we got in there, and Mary brought this little like strobing light that was making patterns all over inside. And our one friend Casey, he's a vape monster, so he had this big vape and smoking out the tent, and it just made it actually was super cool. It made it really, really, really fun.
Fog machine.
Yeah, then we started playing some music. Our one friend Mike was over there banging on a drum. We all had some instruments and shaky things and everything. We just got down. We just had a really good time in there, dancing, connecting, and just like letting go. It was like the beginning of our integration process, I could feel. Well, it was beautiful. I really enjoyed that. That was like a great ceremony within a ceremony kind of thing.
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. Very cathartic.
It was far out. Yeah. Fantastic. I'm like back there. Like I just got shifted back there, and like when my eyes are open, but I'm aware I'm inside of this teepee, and I'm sitting there. Because when I was sitting there, was times I would just sit down in the chair and just drink the energy. Drawing it in through all of my pores, bringing it into my being. It was just amazing, amazing. I should have brought that. I got a big rattle for a gift, a parting gift.
Oh yeah, mine's at my house too.
Zane, I'll bring it out on some future episode. Zane was handing out at the end. He had like it seemed like a giant hockey bag or like an endless bag. Like you just reach your arm in there and more stuff keep coming out, like Santa's bag or something. And he had all these different gourd rattles in different stages of completion. He's like, well, we're giving these away if anybody wants those. His beloved Patricia makes them. And Mary brought one over to me. I was like, all right, I'll kind of play with this one. And then Zane comes out with this gourd. This gourd is this big. It's this big gourd. And he's like, well, I don't know who would want this big king-size rattle. And he shakes it and looks at me. And I was like, yep, that's mine. So I took it home. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one of our artist friends that are around, like, hey, paint something on here and then, like, put your name on it somewhere so I can tell people about you. You know, and I'm going to use it.
I have a pretty
ceremony.
good-sized one, too.
Yeah, good. Those things are sweet. That thing is just, it's like you turn it one way, it looks like a lamp or something. You put a lampshade on it. It's pretty cool. It was really nice. So I guess what we're dealing with now, after doing all that kind of stuff happens, and there's just so much that happens in that week that we're there. And then after that, the integration process begins. So for myself and many of the others, and I know you too because we talked about it, it's kind of hazy. There's kind of a blur of things that happened. And like here and there, like visions come in. Like a vision will pop in about something that happened there. And I extrapolate a deeper sense of energy than I did the first time. And that actually happened right here when I had you talking about something. I think it was Snowbird. I think it was talking about the mountain. There was frequencies in the story that came through you that I didn't feel before. And like, so it's there. So this medicine is there all the time now. And I'm aware it's there and it's ready for download. We just got to be open to do it. I would say, so something I had a live stream this morning, and this is what came through Spirit about the live stream. And this happened actually last night. Last night I was in my yard, and I was just kind of relaxing, meditating with the yard, and I started to connect to Spirit. And then this question came to me, and the question was, what do you really want? What do you really want? What do you really need? What do you really want? And then that kind of hit me, because I was like, well, shit, I thought I knew what I want. You know, and so I had to sit there and think about it for a little bit. And then as I was sitting there thinking about it, my ego mind's going crazy. It's making all kinds of judgments and things, trying to create some idea and everything. And it was a perfect exercise for me to slow my mind, slow down my breath while I was there, and then start to connect. I started to connect to my belts. I started to open up my eyes, connect to my belts, and I started to draw in. And then what I did is I stopped looking for the answer, and I allowed the answer to come to me. And this is exactly how I train other people to find out. When you're on like your path and you don't know what to do, or you think you're stuck or something like that, stop trying to think about it and instead feel about it. Let the thinking go and then feel instead. So I started sending out that question quantumly, in a quantum fashion, because it's something I've been doing for a long time now. I send out the question, and I was like, Spirit, what is it that I really want? What is it that I really need? And I'm not talking, when I'm saying I don't mean me. What does I need? What does the being need? What needs to happen? And as it sat there, it didn't take long, and then bam, I was flooded with this over joyous feeling of light. And then the only words that could come to me was, all that I need is to love and to be loved. So that's what I felt at the deepest level of me. And that was a deep, deep hit into my integration to come into the awareness of what is it that I really want? That's it. And I already got that. So that means I'm limitless, right? Yeah. Once I recognize that there's nothing I need.
Love is all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. Love is the answer. It always is. Yeah, but that's a good question though. Is what do you really want? You know, because my first thing is like systemic healing. Like, yeah, I want that. That's definitely something I want. What else do you want? I want to help as many people as possible. Yep, I want that too. And you know, it's like, but is that what you really want? Is that what you really, really want, or what you really, really need? And it was like, no, It wasn't. Not till you get down to that very basic space. What is it that I really need? Well, that's it. I need to love and to be loved. And then it takes me back into my memory of before I was in human form and understanding from that level of how we are one. We're one. We're God, right? Well, what do we need to do? We create this beautiful reality, and the only way we can experience it is by entering into it. And the best way to enter into it would be to be in as many different viewpoints as possible, because you'll get the most information out of it, right? So I understand that. So I understand that when I was one being, God, I had to break myself into many beings so that way I could experience love, right? I can experience love, but it's more a greater experience if I could break myself into billions of pieces, and that all radiates. But what happens is when we break ourselves into all those pieces, we get amnesia. And then we have to recover. But as we recover, we come back to the one. Right?
Yes.
So there you go. So there's that paradoxical loop that shows up.
And when you are love and I mean, when you just want to be love and spread love, that's really how all the systemic healing happens.
That's right.
So that's
why I had to keep
what
going
you need
deeper
to-
into the root. Systemic healing. How do I create systemic healing? What do I need to do? That's what it comes. Continuously improve my frequency of love. And that doesn't, and then that is a loaded kind of thing, because for someone that doesn't know what love means, that comes up into ideas of romantic love or familial love or something like that, which are forms of love, but not what the true frequency of love is, which doesn't have a word.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah, it's a state. It's a frequency of consciousness is what it is. It's a state of being. And I guess that's what I need or want, is just to become the greatest state of being of love I can be. The greatest
The
radiator.
rest will fall in place.
Always does. Because love is the most powerful force in the universe.
Yes, love conquers all.
Mm-hmm. It does, indeed. How's your integration going? What are you experiencing?
It's just a blur,
Yeah.
really. Definitely unsettling at times. Things still feel foreign.
Mm-hmm.
People, places, things, they are familiar to my ego mind, but to my higher mind, everything is brand new again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm learning everything and seeing everything again for the first time.
But that's so beautiful, right?
It is. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Blur is one way to put it. It doesn't stay that way. Not at least it didn't last time. But I don't like to compare into the past because I've never been here before.
It's just so much happened. It felt like a day, because the whole retreat, the whole Hatun Karpay went by so fast. But at the same time, it felt like 200 years had passed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really quite the time dilation that we experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Many different ways.
Yep, that's a good point. That's something I talk about often in some of the teachings I do, is not to let your ego mind get confused with time. Because there's lots of people that end up shortchanging themselves, not being able to grow past certain levels, because they believe that, well, I've been on the spiritual journey a long, long time, and I know what I'm doing, kind of thing. And I've healed all these things and taken care of all these things. But the truth is this is quantum. We're quantum beings. And someone can grow spiritually hundreds of years, the equivalent of hundreds of years in minutes, if they're connected properly. And one can also spend 30 human years going nowhere. That can happen too. So it's time's kind of a tricky thing. And just like how we're experiencing, like we've taken in this vast knowledge of this ancient living tradition. It's alive, and we are it. And it just wants to feed us if we're open to receive it. If we're open heart to receive it, it will teach us, it will show us the way, and it will give us everything we need to be anything we need to be. How cool is that?
Perfect.
We were planning on having Mary on today, but there was a little sidetrack issue, so we decided to come on and talk a little bit about our priesthood initiations. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have.
Yes.
It's brought a little bit more clarity, actually, to a few
definitely.
things for me. It's actually brought a little bit more clarity. So it was a good exercise for us as well. I teach people shamanism, but it's more my style of shamanism. I don't teach generally too many people Paqo Kuna tradition outside of Zen, but I'm always open to anyone who is ready and wants to make the next step. If shamanism, if energy medicine, if spiritual communication and energetic awareness and healthy, happy mind, body, soul, all those things sound like something you would like to happen, feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here to do.
That's what Moshi is all about.
We're here to do that. And that's something with Moshi that I want to continue to grow, is I want to create a program for people to become Moshi ministers, to become shamans of Moshi, to become part of this lineage. I see this vision where David and I and some others, we come together and we create a whole new lineage of energy medicine. And it's starting now. It's starting here. And so all we need is more of you to want to show up and want to be part of this. And we're going to create something that the world's never seen. And I'm so excited for that to happen. I've had many visions, and I've seen it.
It'll be a beautiful amalgamation of many different traditions. I have been learning about the Paqo Kuna tradition. I've been a lot of the Native American traditions have been in my awareness for a while. So we're just gonna gain as much knowledge and experience as we possibly can and create our own with all of the traditions we can possibly learn.
Yeah, because all the medicine together, there's no one right way. There's like no one way. And that's like how David was saying earlier, what I love so much about the tradition that we're practicing is there's no hard, fast rules. There's nothing that you have to do. And then also at this level of priesthood, we're allowed to create medicine. We can create ways of connection. And that's what it's all about. It's not being stuck. Non-living or dead traditions are stuck in one form. That's kind of like a religion where it's stuck in one form. But even I have to say is, even religions, say Christianity, it wasn't meant to stay a dead tradition. It was meant to be a living tradition. It just wasn't observed that way. But when it comes to this kind of living tradition, the energy and flow continues to grow and expand without limitation. So the medicine or the tradition evolves as we evolve. It isn't.
Yes.
We are the ones that are carrying this tradition out into the world and creating new medicine paths.
And the major religions out there, be it Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all of the divine feminine have been ripped from those traditions, and so it's very one-sided and fear-based.
Yeah.
And our tradition is very well balanced, but definitely leans towards the feminine.
I would have to say, so if I've said this before, my awareness, so I have a very deep connection to Source, or you could call it anything you want, God, okay? When I feel that and it comes into me and I call it into me, I'm distinctly aware that it's a feminine energy. It's a feminine, creative, loving energy. And I feel like the masculine energy grows from within that.
Oh, absolutely.
It grows its own counterpart, so that way
She
it can
births
grow.
it all.
Right. That's how it feels to me. And yeah, you're right. Our tradition is a feminine-based tradition, a feminine energy-based tradition. Pachamama, or we're Earth stewards, we're Earth keepers, is what we're meant to do. We're meant here to actually be. We're like the part of the nervous system of the Earth. We're not separate from her. We are her, and we're here to grow and change, and then we can do amazing things like grow Amazon rainforests. Because two things: we have science now that shows that the Amazon rainforest was created. I also remember that from other lives. I remember that we created these rainforests. I remember how we've created all of the ancient ruins and everything through our frequencies. There's so many ways that we've done it. We've learned how to sing and move giant boulders. and create stone. We've gotten the ability where we can use just our intention to draw together elements from thin air and create things, bring things in there. Those are the things that we'll grow into and we'll get to see in higher vibrational realities as we move along.
Limitless.
Yeah, completely. Limitless. Well, I think, though, maybe I'm at my limit for this conversation. How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel tired now almost. Like
Yes.
the energy is amazing. Plug.
Visit us at moshilove.org. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or our website, moshilove.org. You can come visit us at Sacred Waters Kava Bar. You can find Anthony and Mary at the positivepineapple.org or their Facebook or Instagram page, and find all of their incredible events that they have all over Cleveland.
Sometimes here.
Sometimes here. There's actually one tonight, this Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. And there'll be many others.
Yes.
After that. Yeah, because we're just going to keep growing. We're going to do everything we can. Make sure you come check out Sacred Waters, all right? Sacred Waters, if you're local here in the Ohio area, make your way over here. Take your way over here and get yourself into experience you've never had before. I guarantee you've never experienced a place like this.
No, it's an
Nobody
energy vortex right in the middle of the suburbs.
Yeah, and then you can come in, you can learn about kava if you don't know about it, and the other ethnobotanical teas and things that are offered
You'll
here.
have a quantum shift as soon as you walk in the door.
Bao buns. Do you know what bao buns are? If you don't know what bao buns are, you want to find that out too.
Yes, they're amazing.
Those are fantastical. Mwah, mwah. Yeah. All right, I think that is going to wrap it up for today. I want to send love, peace, and chicken grease to you all. I love you all so much.
Love you.
This has been the Quantum Shamans presented by Moshe with David and Anthony.
Quantum Shamans.
We look forward to seeing you next week for more insight into who you are and your place in the universe.